If you're watching this right now, somewhere out there is a person holding their feelings for you the way you'd hold a piece of glass that's already cracked, terrified to let it slip, and hurting a little more with every single step they take. There's someone tonight who can't fall asleep because your name won't stop echoing through their chest. You probably have no idea, but somebody out there is quietly shaping their whole life around the fact that you exist in it. This isn't some random message that landed in front of you by chance. It's a sign, a nudge, proof that someone is thinking about you so intensely that it actually causes them physical discomfort. Some people wear their love like a loudspeaker, announcing it to anyone who'll listen. But this isn't that kind of love. This is the quiet kind, the kind that doesn't need an audience, the kind that reshapes a person from the inside out without them ever saying a word about it. And if you feel unexpectedly calm right now, a strange sense of peace settling over you as you read this, it's probably because someone's love is reaching you across the distance, even though they've never spoken it out loud. Somewhere, right this second, someone is choosing you again and again, silently, without needing recognition or applause. You didn't just wander into this person's life by coincidence. You walked into it and somehow became the rhythm underneath everything they do, the heartbeat they didn't know they were missing until you showed up. And the reason they've stayed quiet all this time isn't because they don't care about you. It's the exact opposite. It's because the fear of losing you outweighs the relief of finally saying it. So if you're reading this, understand that somewhere a heart is standing right on the edge, caught between finally speaking its truth and quietly breaking under the weight of never saying it at all. None of this is a coincidence. Right now, in this exact chapter of your life, there's someone who has fallen for you completely. And they're doing it quietly, painfully, secretly, hiding it behind ordinary conversations and casual smiles. This kind of love doesn't yell for attention. It doesn't chase validation or try to make itself known. It hides in the silence. It sits heavy in the chest, and somehow it stays there anyway, refusing to leave no matter how uncomfortable it gets. Sometimes it feels like a strange, beautiful ache that they can't shake off even if they wanted to. Whether you're standing right next to them or 1,000 miles away, they feel your presence like it's woven into the air around them. This love has quietly reshaped who they are in ways they can't even put into words. It's comforting and painful all at once, both a soft place to land and an open wound that never quite closes. And now, something is beginning to shift. Something inside them is inching closer to either finally breaking or finally speaking up. This is a love that doesn't make noise, but that doesn't mean it's light. It's heavy in a way that's hard to describe, the kind of love that never announces itself, never begs to be noticed, never performs for an audience. This person probably doesn't say your name out loud very often, and that silence isn't emptiness. That's exactly where the depth of it lives, because what they feel for you was never meant for noise or attention. It was meant to stay pressed against the inside of their chest, aching quietly, refusing to go anywhere. They carry you around like a secret they don't quite know how to set down. It's not some passing daydream. It's more like a full-time occupation their mind never clocks out of. Their thoughts replay you in little fragments throughout the day, the way you smiled without even trying to, the small pause in your voice on the nights you sounded tired, the flicker of honesty in your eyes whenever you spoke from somewhere real. These tiny details, the ones you probably don't even remember, mean absolutely everything to them. They don't just remember moments they shared with you, they remember you, the whole feeling of you. When they're alone, your presence somehow gets louder, filling up all the empty space around them. Your absence has a strange way of taking over an entire room even when you're nowhere near it. And, ironically, when they're out surrounded by people, laughter, conversation, noise, They can feel oddly disconnected from all of it, because their heart isn't actually where their body is standing. It's somewhere else entirely. It's with you, always, no matter where they physically are. They don't love you out loud because they're scared of ruining something that feels fragile and rare, scared of losing you completely, scared that the second they say it out loud, it might vanish into thin air like it was never real to begin with. So instead, they stay quiet and keep loving you deeply, painfully, endlessly, without an expiration date. This love doesn't bring them comfort the way you'd expect love to. Instead, it unsettles them. It shakes the sense of control they thought they had over their own emotions, and it forces their heart to ask questions their mind simply can't answer. They don't fully understand why you affect them this deeply, why your absence weighs more than most people's presence ever could, why moving on feels nearly impossible no matter how hard they try to convince themselves otherwise. In the quiet moments, late at night usually, they find themselves asking the same question over and over. What is this feeling, and why won't it let me go? So they try to distract themselves. They keep busy. They smile through their days. They act completely normal on the outside. But love like this doesn't fade just because you try to ignore it. It actually grows stronger the more it's left alone in silence. You changed something inside them, and not in some loud, dramatic way, but in a quiet, permanent way that can't ever fully be undone. You shifted the way they feel, the way they think, even the way they love other people now. And once someone is changed that deeply, there's no going back to who they used to be before you. Their heart keeps pulling them toward you, while their mind keeps warning them to be careful. And that constant tug-of-war between the two is exhausting to live with every single day. Loving you feels beautiful and terrifying in the same breath, because they genuinely don't know whether this love was meant to be spoken out loud or simply endured in silence. And that's really the root of their confusion. It was never about whether they love you or not. It's about not knowing what to do with a love this overwhelming. Distance has never once made this love weaker. If anything, it's made it echo even louder inside them. They can be standing in a room full of noise, surrounded by faces and conversations, and still feel completely alone because the one presence their heart is actually searching for isn't there. You don't need to be physically close to them to be felt. You exist quietly in the space between their thoughts, in the pauses of their day, in the silence right before they fall asleep. They carry you into crowded rooms and into empty, quiet nights, physically present wherever they are, but emotionally somewhere else entirely, somewhere with you. Their heart keeps circling back to you no matter which direction life happens to be pulling them. They catch themselves imagining full conversations with you, what you'd say, how you'd respond, the exact look on your face if they were finally honest about everything. You've somehow become their emotional compass, the place their feelings default back to without ever asking permission first. They measure their days by how much they wish you were there to share them. Even good news feels a little incomplete without you around to tell it to. Sadness feels heavier too, because you're not close enough to soften it. And here's the hardest part of all. They feel tied to you in ways they can't fully explain or shake off, no matter how they try. This kind of love doesn't really understand time zones or physical distance. It only understands you. That's exactly why being apart from you doesn't bring them relief. It just deepens the longing. This next kind of love might honestly be the most painful one of all. The kind that exists without any certainty attached to it. They're afraid of losing something they never technically had in the first place, and that fear doesn't come with proof. It just lives in their gut as a feeling they can't shake. They don't know for sure if what they feel is mutual. They don't know if the timing between you two is even right. They don't know whether finally telling you the truth would pull you closer or push you away for good. So they end up frozen, stuck between two very real fears. If they speak up, they risk losing everything they've built quietly in their head. If they stay silent, they keep suffering in a way nobody else can see. Every single word they hold back sits like a weight on their chest. Every moment spent with you feels precious and terrifying all at once. Late at night, they replay every possible outcome in their head. What if I told them how I feel? What if I never do? And no matter which answer they land on, none of it brings them any real peace. This love hurts specifically because it has no clear direction, no certainty, nothing solid to hold on to, just hope tangled up with fear in equal measure. And yet somehow they keep loving you anyway. Not because it's easy or comfortable, but because some part of their heart refuses to choose anything else, even when logic tells them they probably should. Sometimes they pull away completely, and it might feel sudden or confusing, maybe even a little painful from where you're standing. But that distance was never about them not caring anymore. It's because caring about you became too heavy for them to carry comfortably. Loving you overwhelms them in ways they genuinely don't know how to manage yet. Their heart wants closeness, wants honesty, wants the truth laid out on the table. But their mind keeps warning them that getting any closer to you might end up wrecking them completely. So they take a step back, not to hurt you or punish you for anything, but purely to protect themselves from something that feels too big to hold on to. They go quiet to catch their breath. They disappear for a while just to stop the ache from spilling out where everyone could see it. Every moment they spend away from you becomes its own quiet battle between desire and self-preservation. Staying close to you feels unbearable in its own way, but leaving feels even worse. If their behavior seems inconsistent or confusing to you, understand that it isn't a lack of love, it's actually an excess of it. They're trying to hold themselves together while feeling something that's too deep, too intense, too real for them to fully process yet. Their absence isn't emptiness, it's restraint. They pull away because loving you hurts in a way they weren't prepared for, and sometimes distance genuinely feels like the only way they know how to survive that particular kind of pain. If you've ever wondered why someone who once seemed so present suddenly starts feeling a little further away, this is usually the reason behind it. It's rarely about disinterest. More often, it's about self-protection, about someone trying to figure out how to love you without losing themselves completely in the process. They might go quiet for a few days, then come back like nothing happened, and that back and forth isn't them playing games with your emotions. It's them wrestling internally, trying to find some kind of balance between wanting to be close to you and needing space to breathe without falling apart. In those quiet stretches where they seem distant, they're usually thinking about you even more than usual, not less. The distance isn't a rejection of what you mean to them, it's actually a reflection of just how much you mean to them. Sometimes the people who care the most are the ones who pull back the hardest, simply because the feeling itself is so overwhelming that they don't yet know how to hold it steady without flinching. You are their emotional safe place, whether or not you've ever realized it. When something good happens in their life, your name is usually the first thing that comes to mind. When life gets hard and things start to hurt, they think of you without even meaning to. Even in complete silence, just the thought of you has a way of calming the chaos running through their head. The simple idea of you existing somewhere in the world makes everything else feel a little lighter to carry. They feel understood by you in a way they don't feel with anyone else in their life. Around you, they don't have to perform or pretend to be someone they're not. They feel seen, accepted, completely real. That kind of comfort isn't something you stumble into every day, it's genuinely rare, and it doesn't happen by accident. Even on the days they don't reach out to you, you're still there for them emotionally in a way words can't really capture. You're the place their heart goes to rest whenever the rest of the world starts to feel too loud. And that connection, quiet as it is something their soul recognizes as something close to home. There's something else worth understanding about a love like this, something people rarely talk about out loud. It's the way this kind of love quietly rewires a person's habits without them even noticing it happening. They start checking their phone a little more often, hoping to see your name pop up, then feeling almost embarrassed by how much that small hope matters to them. They catch themselves pausing on songs that remind them of a conversation you once had, replaying the exact tone of your voice in their head like it's a recording they can't delete. They notice things now that they never used to pay attention to before: the color of the sky at a certain hour, a stranger's laugh that sounds a little like yours, a random memory that surfaces out of nowhere and pulls them right back to a moment with you. None of this is dramatic or obvious from the outside. Nobody around them would necessarily guess what's going on beneath the surface. But internally, it's constant, this quiet awareness of you woven into ordinary moments throughout their day. They've stopped trying to fight it, because fighting it never worked anyway. It only made the feeling louder. So instead, they've learned to simply carry it, the way you'd carry something precious and a little bit painful at the same time, careful not to drop it, careful not to let anyone see just how much weight it actually holds. To this person, you're not just someone who happened to pass through their life at some point. You're a reason, a turning point, someone who showed up at exactly the moment their heart was finally ready to change. Meeting you made them stop and reflect on who they actually are and who they want to become moving forward. You woke up feelings inside them they thought had gone quiet for good. You softened parts of them that had learned, out of necessity, to stay closed off from everyone. Because of you, they've become more self-aware, more honest with themselves, more human in the ways that matter. And even if nothing ever officially happens between the two of you, the impact you've had on them is already permanent, already baked into who they are now. Some people come into our lives to stay for the long haul, and others come specifically to change us in ways we didn't know we needed. They believe you were sent to do both, or at the very least, to leave a mark that time simply isn't capable of erasing. You didn't just enter their life quietly in the background. You shifted the entire direction of it. They honestly don't know what to call what they feel for you. It doesn't fit neatly into simple words or clean definitions the way other feelings sometimes do. It runs deeper than plain attraction. It's heavier than ordinary longing, and it's quieter than anything close to obsession. It exists somewhere in the space between the heart and the soul, somewhere language doesn't quite reach. They've tried to label it, tried to make logical sense of it, but it keeps slipping past every attempt to contain it in a neat little box. This particular love isn't logical in the slightest. It doesn't follow any of the usual rules or timelines people expect love to follow. It just exists, steady and impossible to deny, whether or not it makes sense to anyone, including them. All they really know for certain is this: you matter to them in a way that nobody else quite manages to. Your presence in their life changed the way they understand connection, changed the way they understand love itself. And even without an official name attached to it, this feeling is real, it's powerful, and it's genuinely impossible for them to ignore, no matter how hard they've tried. Maybe that's actually the whole point of a love like this one, that it doesn't need a title to be valid. Society tends to want everything neatly categorized: boyfriend, girlfriend, situationship, something with a clear beginning and a clear label people can understand at a glance. But some connections resist that kind of packaging entirely. They exist in a category all their own, something closer to recognition than romance, something closer to coming home than falling in love in the traditional sense. This person has probably stopped trying to explain it to their friends because the explanation always falls short of what it actually feels like on the inside. Words like crush or interest feel far too small and far too casual for something that occupies this much space in their thoughts. So they've quietly given up trying to define it for anyone else, and instead they've just let it be what it is, unnamed, uncategorized, but undeniably real every single time your name crosses their mind. They love you in ways you'll probably never fully witness or understand. In their quiet moments, alone with their thoughts, they find themselves hoping you're safe, hoping you're at peace, hoping you're happy wherever you are. When life feels heavy on their shoulders, they still hope things are okay on your end. When you smile, even from far away, even through a screen or secondhand through someone else, it lifts something inside their chest that's hard to explain. They don't ask the universe to make you theirs. They simply ask that you're well, that you're taken care of, that life is being kind to you. That's how selfless this particular love actually is. They would rather watch you be happy somewhere without them than see you hurting right beside them. And that truth quietly breaks a small piece of them every single day, even if you never see it happen. Loving you like this means choosing your happiness over their own comfort and carrying that weight silently without ever asking for credit or recognition for it. It's a strange kind of love when you really sit with it, one that gives everything and expects nothing visible in return. There's no scoreboard, no expectation of being thanked, no quiet resentment building up because their feelings go unanswered. They've made peace in their own complicated way, with the possibility that you might never fully know how deeply you're loved by them. And instead of letting that possibility turn bitter, they've let it turn into something closer to gratitude. Gratitude for simply having known you, for having had you cross their path at all, even briefly, even from a distance. That kind of acceptance doesn't come easily. It takes a certain amount of quiet strength to love someone this fully while asking for almost nothing back except their well-being. If you're seeing this message right now, something underneath the surface is already starting to shift. Emotions like these don't stay buried forever, no matter how carefully someone tries to hide them. They're building towards some kind of breaking point. A decision is quietly forming, even if it hasn't fully taken shape yet. This person is tired of carrying everything inside without ever letting it out. Something is going to change soon, one way or another. Maybe they'll finally work up the courage to speak their truth out loud. Maybe they'll choose to walk away instead, just to protect their own heart. Or maybe life itself will step in and rearrange everything without any warning at all. But one thing remains certain through all of it. This love was never imaginary. It was real. It was felt deeply, and it mattered, regardless of how it ends up unfolding. Sometimes messages like this one show up right when energy is already shifting, right when hearts everywhere are quietly preparing themselves for change. Whatever happens next in this story, this connection has already left a permanent mark, whether either of you ever fully acknowledges it out loud. And maybe the strangest part of all of this is how ordinary it looks from the outside. Nobody watching this person go about their normal day would ever guess the amount of feeling they're quietly managing underneath a completely calm expression. They answer messages the same way they always have. They show up to work, to family dinners, to plans with friends, laughing at the right moments, asking the right questions, seeming completely fine. But love like this doesn't need an audience to be real. It doesn't need to be announced at dinner or posted online to matter. It exists in the small, unnoticed hours, in the seconds right before falling asleep, in the pause after reading a message from you one more time than necessary, in the quiet decision to care about your happiness even when it costs them something personal. That's the part most people never see. The sheer amount of restraint it takes to love someone this deeply while saying almost nothing about it out loud. And maybe that restraint is its own kind of proof. Proof that this isn't some fleeting infatuation or passing thought, but something steady enough to survive silence, distance, uncertainty, and time itself without ever fully disappearing. Don't scroll past this next part, because it's meant specifically for you, so stay with me for just a moment longer. If you're seeing this, it means someone's love for you is real. It's quiet, it's painful at times, and it runs incredibly deep. They may never actually say it out loud to your face, but they feel your presence in every single breath they take. And right now, something inside them is shifting, changing shape. Maybe they'll finally find the courage to speak up. Maybe they'll decide to let it go entirely. Or maybe fate has a plan to bring the two of you together in a way neither of you ever saw coming. But before this moment passes, I want you to do one simple thing for me. Drop a comment below if you think someone out there might be loving you silently, without you even realizing it, because sometimes the smallest words really can change the entire direction of someone's life. And if you happen to be the reason someone's heart beats a little differently these days, you deserve to know that. So tell me honestly, do you feel it too? Thank you so much for sticking with me all the way to the end of this one. If it meant something to you, go ahead and like it, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more.